Hello everyone, welcome to another one of our Facebook Lives. Well, it is So Confident April time, and last Friday I filmed the video for the monthly project, the Charlie Bomber Jacket. This was really fun. It was a great little video to do. There's so many things to learn on this particular garment and class. Everything from layering a cotton twill or sateen over some cotton knit and then to quilt it in this little diamond-shaped pattern. How to wash your already laundered denim and get this really perfect fringe. We have a very signature technique that happens in quite a few of our patterns at the sewing workshop, and it's this shoulder seam that turns a corner and dies into a neck seam. And I show you how to nail that. So there's no puckers and it fits and it's just great. I teach you how to put in a decorative separating zipper and how to shorten it or make it fit the jacket if needed. There's some ribbing on the bottom, ribbing on the cuff. But you know, I've never had the perfect bomber jacket. And the evolution of this really started out as originally a San Diego jacket, believe it or not. And then Erin took this and made a bomber jacket a couple of years ago. And then Kathy made one, and finally I decided I wanted a bomber jacket and I wanted sort of a jean jacket as well. So this is what has come out of all of that, of all the bomber jackets that we've made. So here it is. So I hope you'll join us. The class will be out, the video will be available April 16th. And let's see, the Q&A is April 22nd. So that's a live Zoom session, both at noon and 6 p.m. Central Daylight Time. So I hope to see you then. We ordered in lots of special materials for this particular project. We have special zippers that are an antique silver with a great pull on them. We ordered this denim from this very famous jeans company in back east. And of course we have the knit and the twill that come from a New York source. So, you know, we really spent a lot of time putting this all together so that you could enjoy the kits. So there's still time to order the kit, still time to get prepared for that April 16th launch, and I hope to see you on the 22nd for the Q&A. So every week, it seems like I live from Tuesday to Tuesday now. And I remember last week thinking, oh my gosh, here we go, another week, what am I going to talk about? And sometimes I know a little bit ahead of time, and sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? So, like all of you, I'm sure, you subscribe to various newsletters and news from various companies. And so last, I don't know, Wednesday or Thursday, I got an email from isimiyaki.com. I follow those garments. And this particular jacket or coat showed up, and it's called the wind coat. Issey Miyake is really famous for the wind coat. And every once in a while, that company will reintroduce the wind coat that's been going on now for 30 or 40 years. And I went, bingo. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the history of the sewing workshop, because there are some of you who are new to the sewing workshop and have no idea how we have evolved and who we are today and where we started. But in 1991, I bought a sewing school in San Francisco called the Sewing Workshop. And it was nothing but a schoolhouse, a place for classes. And it happened to be in a neighborhood called the Avenues, near Golden Gate Park, near Clement Street, which is sort of a very Asian neighborhood. It's near Japantown. And of course, San Francisco has such a wonderful, rich Asian culture to it. So, you know, we were influenced a lot. All of the teachers who taught there and all the students who came there, we were all very influenced by the whole Asian culture and fashion in particular. So, 1991, I decided to introduce a pattern collection right off the bat, right after I bought the school. And our first patterns were launched that very first year in 1991. And that included the Origami Skirt, which was our very first pattern, the San Francisco Coat, Tea Garden Tee, Origami Blouse, Haiku Jacket, 5 or 6. In fact, there were an early first 7 patterns that all were influenced by designers who we followed. Issey Miyake, Comme des Garçons, Yoshi Yamamoto. I'm still following those designers today because they're so inventive, and so many of their garments feel like origami. They have geometry all over the place. And so I decided, because of the Windcoat reintroduction by Issey Miyake, to talk about some of those early patterns that we had, that we still have in the line, and how I'm still influenced, and our company is influenced by what's happening with the Japanese designers. So today, we still have the Origami Skirt, the very first pattern that we ever produced. So I have it on today. And of course, I went to the archives, and I got out my very favorite green 4-ply silk origami skirt. And we're trying to get a good view so that you can see the whole skirt, but there is a lot of interesting stuff going on with this skirt. We still have the pattern in the line. It's still going strong. So I want to talk about this skirt just a little bit. Of course, I had the famous black one. Everyone has to have a black origami skirt, but I'm purposely wearing the green one, so hopefully you can see the details, because I know it's very difficult to see the black on camera. But it has one side that's literally a rectangle. So the right side is a rectangle. And when that is attached to the left side, then you have one leg hole on the right-hand side for your right leg. And then by the time this piece, this is the center front up here, this is one of the legs down here, this is a diagonal seam that attaches over here. By the time you connect all this, you have another opening for your left leg. And because of the way it's shaped, you see a little more leg on the left side and not so much leg on the right side. Since it was the first pattern, the sizes that are in this pattern are sizes 8 to 18, rather than our extra small to XXL size range that we do now. But nevertheless, I tell you, if you want to have some fun, great. So I've been thinking about this skirt because I love this skirt anyway. And while I have my black one and my solid green one and a couple of other solid colors, now is the time, in my opinion, to make this skirt in something fantastically fun and colorful. And so I'm getting ready to make it out of this fabric, which is a panel, and I can't wait to make this. So I'm hoping we sell this fabric today, but I'm hoping there's one panel left for me to make this skirt, or I better get it off of here before you all buy it, whatever. So anyway, I'm rethinking this skirt from a black skirt. You know, I used to wear black almost all the time and all over, and now I'm into color as I'm fading out in my old age. So I'm rethinking color. Just a little side note. This skirt in the pattern is very long. And when I put this skirt on yesterday, I realized how long it really is. And so this skirt needs to be shortened. And the way to shorten that, we have some good instructions in the pattern of how to do this, but I'm going to just give you a little tip. So you want to determine how long the skirt is on the right side, and you measure this one seam to determine the length that you want the skirt. And then this piece has to fit this. This seam has to match this seam. Because the length and the shorten line is on the diagonal, and this is such a strange piece, let's say you want to shorten this piece 2 inches. You don't necessarily shorten this one the same 2 inches because of the geometry of it. So you would shorten this, measure it, and then shorten this and continue to measure this seam to make sure that it matches this seam. So this might be 1.5 inches, it might be 2.5 inches, I'm not really sure, but it's going to be a different amount of shortening or lengthening than what you're doing over here. So just a little little tip. And also, don't make this too small. You know, this is going to be, it's cut on the straight of grain, but it hangs on the bias. And when you have garments that hang on the bias, it's like a Chinese finger puppet. You know, they lengthen out and narrow as they hang. So this skirt hangs narrower than you think. And you don't want to think you can move down a size. You want to make it plenty generous. In fact, you could make it a size bigger or so and put some elastic in the back and it works just fine, which I've also done. So anyway, I want you to have fun with the origami skirt.
Would you mind doing a little turn?
Oh, a little tour, okay. All right. So I was actually going to shorten this skirt last night, 2 inches. And I took it home. I was going to take the waistband off and just simply cut it off the top. But you know, there was a national championship basketball game on last night, and I had to root for one of those teams, so I had to watch that game, and it was a fabulous game, so I didn't get this shortened. So this is now rolled at the top, which actually kind of works. But it does have a zipper opening right here, a waistband and a button, and but there you go. I have on the salsa blouse to go with it, which I think is a nice profile to go with this. I found that with a skirt like this, you can't really wear something very large and drapey. You have to wear something that has a little bit of a silhouette to it. And the salsa blouse, which is an older pattern of ours as well, works really well. This is a great blouse. I sometimes forget about it and don't wear it very often, but it does button at each side seam. So the fronts really overlap and overlap fairly high, and there's no gaping to this. So I like the fact that it comes up around my neck just a little bit, has a nice tapered sleeve, has a godet under here. We don't have any godets in any of our other patterns, so that's another little learning trick, but salsa and origami skirt. Okay, have I done enough twirling now? All right. All right. All right, so let's talk about this wind coat. I'm going to have Erin come around here. So this is the San Francisco coat, and this is basically the wind coat. I made this coat years ago, and we got it out yesterday, and Erin's going to put it on. This is a size large, the largest size that this pattern comes in. She has these great swimmer's shoulders.
Though I was not a swimmer.
Even though she wasn't a swimmer. But she looks great in this coat. So here it is in a really drapey black fabric. I mean, who wouldn't want a fantastic black coat? Has this great open yoke in the back. It's way oversized and it's meant to be. It has the best single welt pocket technique ever written. Easy to do. Has 3 buttons. While the original wind coat has a lapel, notched collar lapel, this is a shawl collar. And that shawl has a, turn around here, they'll never be able to see this, but a couple of tucks. There's a tuck here and a tuck here. And that's what makes that shawl collar really lie nice and flat. So Erin put this on yesterday and said, you know, I'll wear that.
It's a great spring jacket in this lightweight rayon.
Yeah, we brought one up out of the archives in linen. We have one in velvet. This is sort of a rainwear sort of thing. But we have this wonderful black fabric that's super drapey. It's rayon. And I think this would make a fantastic San Francisco coat or origami skirt or a couple of other things I'm going to show. And we have, this has a little bit of a crepe feeling to it, and we have a really special price on this for this week. It's $12 a yard, and then with your discount, it's going to be like $10.20 a yard. So stock up, because this will make great pants, great skirts, great coats, whatever. All right. So while you're standing here,
Okay.
let's talk about the Fillmore. Now, the Fillmore is named after Fillmore Street in San Francisco. When I used to travel to San Francisco, I commuted to San Francisco for about 12 years. And, of course, I was always by myself in the evening, so I would go to Fillmore Street to have dinner. It's my favorite shopping street in the world. That's quite a statement, isn't it? Yeah. Pretty good. I haven't been there for a while, but I'm assuming it's still fantastic. So this is the Fillmore duster, and it's sleeveless, but it is dropped here a little bit, and that's meant to be that way. It has a wonderful collar that turns down, and it has these large miters, so it's an easy collar to make. Buttons down the front, but it has all of these insertions of shapes. So here's this round curve attached, has a couple of tucks in it. The back has a seam here, a seam, where'd it go? Here's a seam, here's a seam, there's a seam across here. So there's a lot of interesting shaping going on. Has some great pockets to it. It's meant to be a blousey blouson shape. You can wear it by itself in the summer in, let's say, linen for a linen dress, or you can put it over a t-shirt, put it over some leggings, and wear it year-round. I have a wool one that I wear in the winter, and then we have some printed linen ones. It looks great in a print. This little cotton print. And one of my favorite ones that I tend to wear a lot, actually, is this nice neutral gray cotton, just a simple cotton fabric. And we have a couple of cottons that would really work for this that I'll show you later. Well, I might as well show you now. Why not? These are the cottons that this gray one was made out of. We have this russet color in the cotton, my color of yellow-green, and we have the ruby burgundy. What do you call this color? There's a great word for this color. Not magenta, but maybe I should look at the tag. Wine. There you go. Okay. So these three colors of solid cottons would be fantastic for the Fillmore. We have another pattern that I think is really interesting that we have talked about on a Facebook Live. And this is the Equinox Jacket. This is one pattern piece. Has this great shawl collar. And then it has these overlaid tabs, I'll call them, facings, hem trims, bands, and it's short in the back, and it's a little bit eased across the back. I'll show you in a minute. There's a little strap on the inside with some buttons. But this is really fun, and of course I always have to tell my famous story about this jacket. So we used to do fashion shows at the big trade show up in Puyallup, Washington, and we always did 3 days in a row. And the first day, the professional model came out in this jacket, just like this, looked great. The next day, the models are always in a hurry in the back room. She came out with the jacket on like this. She had put it on upside down. And we decided this looked pretty good. So if you get dressed in the morning in a dark closet, don't turn your lights on, and you get your garments on upside down, no problem on this one. But this happens to be made in a raw silk. I was going to show you this little tab in the back. So this is the strap with 3 buttons on the inside of the jacket that makes that shape of the garment. So we don't have this fabric anymore, but I love the idea of making it in this cotton stripe. This looks like a hand woven, has the same character as what this does, although it's cotton. I want to make sure I'm saying that correctly before yes, all cotton. And I just think that would be a fantastic Equinox jacket. All right, then we have another pattern that I think is very Asian inspired. So this is the Riviera Shirt. And This particular element right here is not part of the pattern. That was added afterwards, but it's a great idea. This is a pattern that is very asymmetric like this, with the left side on the diagonal and the right side pretty much on the straight. And it normally has one button in about this position, but it's not usually on a tab like this, but it's a great idea. And then you can add some buttons there. But what I like about this, and why this is so much fun, is that a lot of these designs have been put on this fabric with decorative stitches. You know, we all buy these fancy sewing machines, and they come with 297,000 stitches, which I have never used. But it's a time to experiment. So this is a decorative stitch across here. This one is a decorative stitch. It's a time to really experiment and play. Even a zigzag was added here, some decorative stitches here. But the fabric just sort of brought forth the idea of adding those elements of color and special stitches. I have a Riviera shirt in a solid black fabric, very much like this fabric that we're talking about, and I wear it a lot. You can wear it over colorful pants or printed pants or all black if you're into that. So I like this shirt. It's a nice feel when it's on. Has a great traditional collar and stand, and other than that, easy to make. So I was thinking about a couple of things that would be great to use for fabric. This is a cotton fabric. It actually has a sort of linen character. In fact, I was surprised when I saw that it was cotton. But this is already embroidered in this geometric design, and it looks like some of the decorative stitches that we put on this Riviera shirt. I think this would make a fantastic Riviera shirt. So think about that. This would be fun to add either some decorative machine stitches in color or some hand stitches or none at all. So that was my pick of the week for the Riviera. All right, so I've gone over some things. Okay, now I want to talk to you about this Fillmore, back to the Fillmore. The Fillmore, as I explained to you earlier, does have this curved seam. So you have opposing curves to attach to one another. And I want to talk a little bit about how you want to deal with this, because that's a little bit intimidating for people. Oops. I'm going to see if I can do this in a Facebook Live type format. It'll be interesting. So this is I'll call it center front portion of the Fillmore. And you can see this is the curve that this piece needs to be inserted into. This particular insertion has a couple of tucks in it. So you have to be really accurate to make sure that after you've sewn the tucks, you have the same distance on the seam allowance that will fit. So notice that I've stay stitched on the seam line through the curved portion of this. And I've clipped it all the way through that. So I may have to take this off to do it, but we'll see. Okay, I have to get myself oriented here. It's going to go in like this. So that means it's going to be pinned like this. So this first dot is, I think I'm going to take this off of here and do it in front of you that way. I couldn't figure out how to do this smoothly on Facebook Live, to tell you the truth. All right, so here we go. So I am matching, once I'm oriented, which did help to have it up like that, I'm matching the tuck to one dot. And I have another dot over here and the other tuck. So I'll match those. Then there were a couple of notches. So let's find it. So there's one little notch that matches to this notch. You know, so many people I know who are really experienced sewers don't bother to mark anything. And was there another notch? Maybe not. Yes, there is. Another notch here that matches to here. All right, now I'm going to turn this over so that I'm going to actually be sewing and pinning this on this side where I can see my stay stitching. But you can see that between where I've sewn, things, excuse me, will line up. So let's just pin, keep pinning a little bit. So if this is a garment that you want to lengthen or shorten, I wouldn't do it in the curved part. I would do it above or below. It's not impossible, but you would have to continue to measure. I'm just going to pin this one section so you'll get the idea. You can tell that I'm kind of rolling this over my hand a little bit. All right, so that's just one section. And that's going to fit in there just fine. I can tell that I managed to do it correctly. So just know that we say this in the instructions. One side gets stay stitched and clipped in order to open up and fit the opposing curve. And that's just standard, not just with the Fillmore, but with anything. As a matter of fact, my first even knowing how to do this was making long pillows, tubular pillows, cylinder pillows, and it's the same concept. All right, so let's look at some fabrics. We have a series of Japanese fabrics that I think are really beautiful. We have about 4 fabrics that are what are called Dobby weaves, D-O-B-B-Y. We have this beautiful blue one that has several tones of blue and a little bit of a russet red color in the medallions. Here's the rust version of it and the yellow-green version of it. I love this one because the colors really pop with a little bit of purple in there. So these 3 are the same weave, same pattern, and they are a Dobby weave. So it has a texture to it, has a sort of like a bark cloth, if you can picture that, but not quite as strong as that. Then we have another one that is a very unusual colorway. We have these bursts of color in the neutral and blue and a rusty red, but it's on a super, super dark green background. So dark that it looks black, but it really is. It's a black green, I guess I'll call it. These would make fantastic origami skirts, Riviera shirts, what else? Fillmore's. Fantastic. And then there's this one that's also from Japan that is really fun. This is designed by Nanny Iro, who's one of the famous Japanese quilters. And I love her work. I love her quilts. I love her fabrics. So you can see that the concentration of the dots changes from more concentrated in the center to less so at the edges. So it's almost like a border, but not really. Beautiful cotton satin. What a great hand this has. This has a similar hand to all the great Liberty of London cottons that we love so much, but this one is from Japan. So I've talked about this fabulous panel, and a panel is about a yard. And I don't think you can get a whole origami skirt out of one panel. You might need 2 panels if you're going to make the skirt. But the idea of putting a contrasting fabric on the left side is interesting. And believe it or not, Erin and I are pretty crazy about this with it. We think that the insertion on the left side in this, with this fabric, would really be something. You know, we've talked about this whole mixing of prints a lot with, who's the design team? Not Gucci, but Dolce & Gabbana. You know, all of the mixtures of prints. This is so Dolce & Gabbana. But we also like it with this plaid. We also think this would make a great shirt or top. You could make a salsa out of this. You could make a Riviera out of this. We like it with this print a lot. It's a great little cotton plaid, an even plaid, so it's easy to match. Even like it with this little insertion of a little floral, or it could just be some trim or a pocket, the waistband, the facings on the bottom. This particular skirt is faced for the hems rather than a turned hem. And I even just like these two together without all of this. This is an interesting fabric. This is a viscose that has the character of a file, if you know what that is. So tiny little ribs. But it doesn't behave like a file because a file is normally very stiff. And this is super drapey. But it has the weight and the body that would be perfect for an origami skirt. I think it would make a great Riviera shirt, and it would make a great Fillmore as well. And this particular sort of fabric with these bold, singular flowers are very Japanese. You see this so much. When you see this up close, you see that this flower is blue, but there's black. It's like this has been hand-drawn or hand-painted. It really has a very organic feel to it. So, have I talked about all the fabrics? I think I have. Okay, are we ready for questions? Well, or the specials. Which do you want me to do first? Okay, we're going to do specials. All right, so today's specials are all of the fabrics that I've talked about, every single one of them. We know you have a special on this one, the black. And we have, for the patterns that have what I call modern geometry to them, that are on sale, the Origami Skirt, San Francisco Coat, Equinox Jacket, Fillmore Duster, Riviera Shirt. And then we have a very special tutorial that's not been on our website up to now. This is a tutorial, a 51-page tutorial, a PDF tutorial that I did a couple of years ago for a class that I taught called Asian Influences. It doesn't have very much to do with these particular patterns, but there are tons of ideas in that tutorial for embellishing your garments in an Asian sort of way. All kinds of influences from Zaka to Burro to Sashiko. And it's just a fun read, and it's only $5 this week. So we brought that back into the website, especially for this week, and then it'll go away again. So, okay.
How many inches would you shorten the origami skirt?
I am going to shorten this skirt the next time I make it 3 inches. And I'm 5'6".
Okay, so where should it hit? Like, where should the skirt hit?
I think that the right leg should be about 3 inches above the ankle. Is that what it is? 2 to 3 inches above the ankle? Yeah.
That sounds about right.
You don't want to make this skirt too short. You don't want to get it up here because then this is going to be up here. You might not like that. Well, you might, but I don't.
We'll zoom out since we're talking about the origami.
Oh, okay.
Show it off
Yeah, so this
again.
is the length. You want to determine the length by the right leg. And I think that's 2 or 3 inches above my ankle. When people have tried to shorten this shorter, then all that does is raise this opening. So you want to make sure that This is a long skirt. This is not meant to be a knee-length skirt.
Where are your sandals from?
My sandals are, that's a good question. I'd have to take them off.
Well, we could always post it in the comments later.
Yes, I think they are Donald Pliner sandals that I've had for years. But this is the new shoe this year, the sandal thing. You know, I mean, we've always worn sandals, but I've noticed that we're moving away. You know, I kind of watch the trends of shoes. You know, we're into shoes around here, and sandals are back. And the woven, these are like woven basketry. That's kind of into.
Are the legs enclosed like pants? So is it a pant? Is it pants or skirt?
Well,
origami?
it's a skirt with 2 leg holes. I consider it a skirt, but it does definitely have 2 openings. So, you know, you have to deal with it as pants and getting it on and off and all that.
Okay. Do you know how you would make it larger? She mentioned the sizes were 8 to 18.
You know, that's actually pretty easy to do. I was thinking about that and actually meant to mention it. So to make this larger, let's say you're making the size 18. This is the size that you would just expand as a rectangle. I wouldn't touch this piece in trying to make it larger. I would only deal with this. And so you just continue to grade this out however much you need. Super easy.
Okay. And again, you're wearing the salsa. With
Salsa.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep, this is in a Swiss cotton, thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Somebody asked how tall I was. I'm 5'10". Let's see. And so speaking of height, so they were talking about the Fillmore, and have you seen it on someone who's shorter?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we have a one in our assortment of Fillmores that Kathy Miller made, who lives in Hudson, Wisconsin, and she gave it to us, and it's in a printed linen, and she is, I'm guessing, I don't know if you're on now or not, Kathy, but Kathy's probably 5'2" or 5'3", I suppose, and she shortened it, and it's just cute. So yeah, it works.
Do you think she shortened it above the curve? Or?
Yeah, I think she shortened it in 2 places, which is what I recommend. Shorten it above the curve and below the curve, 2 places.
I think that goes for a lot of patterns. If it's kind of a unique shape,
right?
Shortening it in multiple places.
Right, like the Memphis dress, we recommend shortening in a couple of places, not just one.
Okay. Another height question. What is the target height patterns are designed for?
5'6". I want the patterns to fit me, and that was a conscious decision. If I never sold a pattern, I could just always make them without altering them.
Can you show a few more details on the San Francisco coat? Since I wasn't behind the camera, I can zoom in better. Yeah.
All right. So let's look at this collar. Right at this connection that I've talked about, which has a shoulder seam that goes into the neck seam, there is a tuck in the collar, which creates the fullness on both sides. So shawl collar, large buttons. Here's the single welt pocket, real deep pocket, but a perfect welt. Tapered sleeve, open back yoke, you know, like trench coats. So that's pretty much it. This is, as I said, the largest size of the coat.
And what are those sizes?
Well, we only have small, medium, and large, extra large in this coat. Isn't that what it is? Or
I think is it 3 sizes or?
I don't know. I can't remember. This is medium large, so it must just be extra small, small and medium large. 2 sizes. I think it's only 2 sizes.
Okay.
You know, I'm not sure, but maybe Betsy can check that out and post it.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay, they would like some close-ups of the Riviera.
Okay.
We can get closer to show some of the stitching.
All right. Okay, so here's some of the decorative stitching. Here, here, and here, and here.
Okay.
Okay.
And I think I'll get a close-up of the white fabric. It was,
I can take it off the wall.
okay, it wasn't showing up, the details of
Yeah.
that one weren't showing up very well.
You can tell this is slightly off-white. Does that help?
Oh, that's a lot better.
But that is machine embroidery that makes this design on it in a somewhat shiny thread. I love this fabric.
Okay, on the Fillmore, how far apart do you clip?
I
On the
clipped
shirt.
about every 5/8 of an inch.
And you clip all the way to the stitch line?
All the way. All the way, or otherwise it's you're defeating the purpose. So the stay stitching is on the seam line and the clipping is to the seam line.
Okay, I'm just going to mention this comment because I think it's really funny from Rhonda. So this is to encourage people to match and mark. She says, I love matching and marking. I feel like I win something when they line up correctly.
Thank you, Rhonda.
I thought that was hilarious. Okay.
It's so true.
I could just hear her saying that.
Yeah, and you know, everybody has their method of marking, from tailor tacks to tracing papers and tracing wheels and chalk markers and tailoring pencils, and you know, I use all of those for my markings and clipping and all that. It just depends on the fabric, the mood I'm in, whether they're going to be hidden or not, how long they need to stay in there before I get to sewing it. You know, I have all of them at my fingertips.
Can you put sleeves in the Fillmore?
No. We have tried that. Well, I shouldn't say no. Some people are smarter than we are. We attempted to do that and it was a failure. In order to put a sleeve in there, you would have to recut the arm's eye and make it a more normal distance at the shoulder. Measure that, draft a sleeve, and put it in there. So wear a t-shirt.
It's a lot.
It's a lot easier.
Okay, for the denim, the bomber jacket.
Yeah.
Can you substitute a darker denim instead of the lighter denim?
Can we or can they?
Well, if they would like to purchase a kit, would they be able to get it in a darker denim instead of the lighter denim?
I don't know. I need to look at our denims to see if we even have a darker one that would work. That's a possibility. I'd have to look.
So just call us maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the other thing about this particular denim is this fringes perfectly. You know, you want to find a denim that fringes. And so a lot of the denims that have spandex in them don't fringe in the same way. And this, to me, was part of the beauty of this jacket, was the fringing. Now, if it doesn't fringe and you want something else up here and you want to turn it under or sew a seam, and that's fine. But maybe you want to buy fringe and put it on there. But this denim was purchased because this did the right thing.
Can you shorten the origami at the waist?
Yeah, I've done that. I mean, I'm going to shorten this skirt by cutting it off 2 inches. Now, it does change the shape a little bit. There are 2 darts on this, this pattern. And so there's a certain, you could shorten it at the top after the fact. I would go ahead and shorten it, your patterns first, if you have that opportunity. If you have a skirt that you want to shorten already, I would shorten it. But this is where the zipper goes. And so, of course, you have to make sure that you have some opening left in the skirt. So to me, the most you could take off the top is 2 inches. But yes, it can be done. I've done it.
Mary says, I am only 5 foot tall. Does that mean I should shorten the origami skirt 9 inches?
9 inches? No, 6 inches.
Well, since you're 5'6", and then...
Right.
Okay. They want to see the stripe fabric at the bottom. I assume the black and cream.
Oh, this one? Okay. You want me to hold that up too?
Yes, that'd be great.
All right.
Has a nice drape to it.
Yeah, it's really
what it is.
lightweight, actually. It's just that great summer weight cotton jacket. This would make any one of our jackets, actually, from a Chicago jacket to a Tremont jacket. But I do see this as a jacket fabric. To me, it's not pants. It could be a shirt-ish, but to me, it's more jacket. Yeah. The back side, you could probably use the wrong side, too, if you like the darker side. Any better.
Oh, that's nice. Okay, the panel print. Could you make a palazzo pant, and what pattern would you use?
A palazzo pant?
Do like the West End?
Like the West Ends would be our version of palazzo pants. Yeah. So this starts to change. Let's get this out. Oops.
Okay. Do you have instructions for shortening in the pattern?
Of the origami skirt?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a button resource?
We sell buttons. We don't have them on our website. And there are customers who email us or call us and want us to add buttons to their order. Now, that's sight unseen. You have to trust us. Otherwise, you know, the whole button source thing has really dried up, and I'm still searching for buttons. But there's a Bueno Buttons in Texas that has a lot of buttons on their website. Bueno? I think that's it.
If I made a medium in the Soho, would I make a medium in the San Francisco?
You'd make the smallest size. So no, I think it would be the small.
Can you hold up the circles fabric? Yes, is it drapey?
No, not especially drapey. Pretty stable.
That color is nice.
Not good color?
No, it's good. It's a nice blue.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Do you think the large indigo flower print at the bottom of the screen would work for the Equinox? I'm thinking they're the one on the other side.
Oh, this one? Mm-hmm. No, because I don't like the wrong side of it.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Make a great San Francisco coat. We were talking about that yesterday.
Do the two rust-colored fabrics you showed, one with the bursts and the other the poplin, coordinate well if you put them together in a garment? Two rust-colored.
Well, I would put those.
Oh, I wonder if it's the bottom one.
Oh, this one?
The solid.
With this one or
with
this
the-
one?
With the rust color.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I like that.
Oh, definitely. The print's a little bit lighter, but I think
Right.
I think the colors in the flower work really well.
Does that help?
Yeah, I think that's nice.
Yeah. I'd put that together.
Okay. see as far as questions. Let me go to the bottom and make sure. Would the Japanese medallion prints work for the Quincy jacket?
The Japanese what now?
I think the
These?
Japanese, yes.
This would make a gorgeous Quincy jacket. Yeah, perfect.
Could you hold the dark green? Kind of reads black on the screen.
Yeah, but you put it next to black.
Okay.
And you can tell it's a char black with some green in it.
Okay. Okay, that's all the questions. that I
Okay.
see.
Thanks everybody for joining us. Really appreciate it. And we'll see you next Tuesday.